And why does this generation of kids just turn their back on their parents?
Hey beautiful people, how y'all doing today? Together Destiny here, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a video of a woman who came on TikTok to talk about how she's a mother and how she feels like kids nowadays no longer appreciate their parents, that she has her kids not talking to her. She has 3 kids and her kids are not talking to her, and it's really sad that this is the reality now that most parents are going through, that kids no longer appreciate their parents anymore, and that these kids, they turn their back on their parents once they grow old and become adults. Anyway guys, I need you guys to hear what this woman has to say, and then we'll come back and talk.
So this is for all the moms who have young adult kids. Today's a hard day. 23 years ago I became a mom. Happiest day of my life, and I can't say today's the happiest day of my life. Tried 7 years, 3 miscarriages. Like, all I ever want to do is be a mom. Nobody ever tells you how hard it's going to be when your kids grow up. And, they're not in your life, or if they are in your life, they're young adults who are, disrespectful, and you just don't feel appreciated or valued. Like, this is a time in our lives that we're supposed to be like the happiest. Like, we've raised our kids and they're in their 20s, and it's supposed to be our time for us to be happy. And I feel like I have so many down days. Like, why is it this hard? Why, when I feel like I was a good mom and did everything I can to show my kids I loved them and be there for them, and why does this generation of kids just turn their back on their parents? Like, I would never treat my parents the way some of the things have been said to me from my kids, and I don't understand it. And it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. My friends, patients that I see at work, story after story after story after, my daughter doesn't talk to me, my son doesn't talk to me. Like, just so much entitlement these days, and it's just so flippin' heartbreaking. Like, it was so much easier when the kids were little. Like, I just didn't think that my life would be where it's at 50. I love my kids, but why is it this hard? Where's the respect at for parents and appreciation for all they've done for you your entire life? Like, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. Today is a hard day. Hard day. Can't believe 23 years ago today it was the happiest day of my life. And today, probably one of the saddest. So, I know I'm not alone. That's why I'm sharing this. Because I know that I'm not the only mom going through this. So, if you're a mom going through this too, hugs to you. Because it's freaking hard. Shit is hard.
So those are our thoughts. Let me know what you think about it down in the comment section. This got a lot of people talking on the internet. Everybody was reacting to this. And I feel like this is a very interesting conversation because it was both ways, okay? So anyway, guys, let's go and hear what other people had to say, because we had parents talking and we have adult children talking about their experience and why they're not talking to their parents, or why they should never turn their back on their parents. So this conversation is interesting anyway. So let's go and hear other people's thoughts, and then I'll come back and share my own thoughts.
Please go back and watch that mama's video. Mama, I sympathize with you and I understand how you might be feeling, and your feelings are valid, but I did want to give you an opposing view. Rather than you feeling like your child has turned their back on you and you feel like they don't respect you or appreciate all that you've done for them, have a different view and understand that, number one, they're 23 and their cerebral cortex is not fully developed. So they're still developing, number one. Okay, number two is that being in your 20s is the hardest thing for a young person to go through. And just because you're not feeling validated by your child does not mean that they love you less, doesn't mean that they don't think about you, and it doesn't mean that they don't want to see you. Rather than make their 20s about how you feel, you need to understand that being 20s, in their 20s in the 2000s, with the way that the world is today, is extremely and incredibly hard for young people. 10 years ago, The way that I was in my 20s and the things that I was allowed to do is not the same thing that these 20-year-olds are allowed to do. So they are going through life trying to figure out how to finish school. School's stressful. Getting a job, that's hard. A job that pays well is hard. Developing and creating new relationships. These kids are a lot more antisocial. Allow them the space and time to develop their own relationships. Also, you were once 20. And if you had you're 60 years old, if you had your kids 23 years ago, that means you were fortunate enough to have your kids in your 30s where you were much more responsible and more developed. And I think that we need to give these kids today some grace. Allow them to come back to you when they're ready. But they've been under the confines of your parental leadership for over 20 years. Did you not expect that they were going to break away from you and develop their own life and their own personal life, and allow them that? I do think that when you're at this point in your age, it is your job as a parent to do your due diligence to build your life all over again, so you have your own hobbies. Because I think that because once you become a mom, so much of your life and your identity is tied to your children, and I think that's something that you might want to address. Last thing, the reason why I wanted to speak on this topic is because I know that my mom felt this way about me when I was in my 20s, but I'm 33 years old now and I have my own kids and we're much closer, and I can tell you now that it gets better. It's just time for everybody to grow apart before they grow back together in a different way.
For all the moms who have young adults.
I have a little different perspective, and I had did a video a while back, kind of like about the same thing, telling women to pivot. That their kids are grown and out of the house, now is the time to live your life. You pivot, okay? You do what you want to do. Stop. I understand, especially for you, okay? Your journey to have this child, this was something that you wanted. You wanted to be a mother, okay? That's what you wanted. Your child did not ask to come here. Therefore, your child owes you nothing. But you owe that child everything because that was the choice that you made. And then you rear them to be independent people, to go out in this world, be able to survive because you taught them how to do so. They're not going to call all the time. You understand what I'm saying? They're not. That doesn't mean that they don't love you or nothing like that. They're living their lives like they're supposed to, like you did. And you can't manipulate them into visiting. You can't do none of that. You can't be like beefing with the wife or the girlfriend thinking that they're the reason why he doesn't come around. No, it's not that. But yeah, y'all, I'm not going to say y'all, but I'm seeing it a lot. And putting your whole entire existence into your children will set you up for disappointment. They can't fill every void. They're not little kids where they need you all the time and mommy, mommy, mommy. You understand what I'm saying? Their problems are different. And, if your relationship is good enough, they'll come to you with what those issues are. And you can provide them guidance that they are free to take or not. You can't shield them from their bad decision making. None of that. So just stop trying. Just pray for them and let them live. Or else you will drive yourself crazy. Go to therapy if you need to. But stop doing this. Stop. Please stop. And look at the world that we brought our children into. You got to think about that too. A lot of them are disillusioned from what they were indoctrinated with growing up and then visualizing the real world that they are traversing in. So you got to look at that too. Like, ask the hard questions, like, why don't they come around? Like, say straight up, ask them, why don't they? They'll tell you, I'm sure they will. If they can be disrespectful, they can also tell you the truth.
Where's the respect at for parents and appreciation for all they've done?
My kid is 23 and I'm a Gen Xer, so this feels tailor-made for me. What are the missing reasons for your conflict? I know you're going to say there are no missing reasons. You did everything you were supposed to do. I would bet that your child has a different story. And in every conflict, there are 3 sides. Yours, mine, and the truth, which tends to fall somewhere in between. Now, I say this not to be hurtful, but because I am the estranged child of your parents. I am no longer fully estranged, but for many years, we just didn't talk. And I am certain that they would say that they have no idea why. Other family members, my friends, they knew exactly why. And it wasn't a failure of my communication. They just didn't like the reasons. And so they decided they didn't matter. Until I decided I wasn't dealing with it. And then they had to acknowledge that there was a problem. And so I am asking you, what aren't you acknowledging as a parent? Because all of that about what you did and how hard you worked to raise them and whatever is great. It is also your job as a parent. You chose that. They didn't choose you. Now we get to the part where they do get a choice. And the tenor of your relationship comes down to mutual reality, right? That means you have to have good communication. You have to respect boundaries. You have to be able to compromise and do all of those things that you do with other people that are not your child to maintain a relationship. So what would your child's reasons be? What went wrong? What did they say to you? Because respect, when you have an adult child, has to be mutual, or it is not respect, and it is an impossible situation to maintain. And unfortunately, what I am taking away from your post is that you are not necessarily respecting the fact that your child is a different person with different needs, interests, and different boundaries than the ones you approve of. They no longer require your approval. They no longer require your permission. They do require you to recognize that they are an adult and to negotiate this new relationship with them as 2 adults. Or else, unfortunately, just like any other relationship, they always have the option to opt out of continuing to interact with you. Hope that helps.
Of kids just turn their back on their parents. Like,
oh, this sounds like a job for a millennial. The generation of generational healing. I am no contact with both of my parents. There's a multitude of different reasons why people will go no contact, but one of the main ones is because I have 2 very emotionally immature parents. And based on the language that you used in that video, you're signaling emotional immaturity. It sounds like you had a child because you wanted unconditional love and you treated that child like an extension of you. You never actually viewed that child as a person who was going to have thoughts and feelings and hopes and dreams and wants and boundaries. And that's how my parents treated me too. They still treat me like that, which is why I don't talk to them. They don't contribute to my life. They don't enrich my life. They don't even see me as an adult. And I am very grown. They don't even know me because they never cared to know me as a person.
kids just turn their back on their parents.
There's a lot of I in everything that you said. I did this. I wanted that. I expected this. I. Becoming a parent means that you are entering into a relationship with another human being. Just because you created that human being does not mean you are owed a relationship with that human being. If you are maintaining, growing, investing in that relationship, great. But entering into a relationship doesn't fundamentally change your identity, and it doesn't give you something you think you're owed just because you wanted it.
Entitlement these days.
So as someone who has gone no contact with her mother and has eventually formed a relationship with her mother, I genuinely hope that this creator hears what I have to say. So 1, like a lot of other people who stitched your video have said, you brought your children into the world. They don't owe you anything, especially when they become adults and can make their own decisions. Does that mean that you shouldn't feel hurt and sad? No, you have every right to feel that way. But the thing is a lot of people my age have grown up with a lot of childhood trauma that we are trying to heal from. And one thing that I haven't really seen a whole lot of people who stitch your video talk about is people my age are not having kids, or they're having very few. And I think a big part of it, and I know for me, is that for the longest time, I was afraid that I wouldn't be a good mom. and I didn't want to bring kids into the world and hurt them. I did a lot of healing in order to be able to do that, and I love being a mom. But I recognize as a mom that I will not be a perfect mom, and I will do things throughout my daughter's life that will probably hurt her in one way or another. And it will be my responsibility that when she brings that to me, that I acknowledge it and I apologize and I don't make excuses. I want to be able to look my daughter in the eye and say, I am so sorry that I hurt you. That was wrong of me, and I hope that we can work through it and be close. The reason that I was no contact with my mom for so long was because she just refused to take accountability for what she did. It was always like you said, well, I did the best that I could, or I didn't mean to, or it didn't happen that way. And it's just like you're talking to a brick wall, so eventually you just get tired. We don't want to hear that you're terrible, awful parents. We just want our feelings and our experiences validated. I feel like your generation had kids just to have kids. It was just something that you were supposed to do, never realizing that your children are their own individual people. They are not extensions of you. And when someone can't acknowledge that they've hurt you, they have to eventually walk away. It's not fun. It's very sad. I grieved not having a mother for a very long time. And here's the thing. If you want a relationship with your kids, one, I would stop making videos talking about them. They're not stupid. They know what you're doing. They know that you're making videos to talk to them without actually talking. And two, stop listening to the people who are having the same problem as you.
Let me know what you think about this discussion down in the comment section. Go ahead and share your thought down in the comment section, okay? Because that's what we do here. We have conversation. So feel free, share your opinion, but please, please, please do it respectfully, okay? So here's my own thought on this, is that there's something I always have this conversation with my friends and family. I believe that people should have that conversation with yourself. Have you unpacked your trauma? And I feel like kids is not for everybody. And some women are getting to that realization now, and some women are decided to be child-free and decide not to have kids. But I feel like before you have kids, ask yourself, why are you having kids? I'm not trying to shame the original creator that started this conversation, the woman. Is that from what she was talking about, she has a lot of expectation from these children, like, you know what, now they should have my time, now they should take care of me. And this is where we've had this conversation here on this channel where talking about women that decide to go child-free, and some people feel like, oh, they are going to regret it. There are still people that have had kids and they regret having kids because their kids are nowhere to be found once this kid turns to an adult. So this is where I feel like, as a person, go and unlearn and deal with your past trauma so that you can be a better parent for your children. But still, that's not even a guarantee that these children are still going to be there for you. But I feel like that is a step to it. If you're having kids, have kids because you want to have kids, and don't expect anything from them. And especially here in Africa where I grew up, parents see their children as a retirement plan. So they feel like once you become an adult, you should start paying their bills, you should start taking care of them. Now their own responsibility is now on you. It's now your rights. It's their right now for you to take care of them. And I feel like this is where, as individual, you should learn how to build generational wealth, which I know some of us, we are still struggling, because by myself I'm struggling on that one. But I feel like when that, I know everything is not about the monetary part of it, but money also help with it after dealing with your trauma. Because like I said, trauma fails, deal with your trauma, and then build your wealth so that you don't depend on your children for bills. Work on your finance so that you don't depend on your children for financial dependence, because those children, they need to grow, they need to build their own family with whatever finance they're having. But when you're putting that weight on them, or bringing past trauma that you've caused them in the past, it can cause some kind of, you guys not seeing eye to eye and having this big expectation for them that some of them are unrealistic. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this discussion down in the comment section. Love to know your thoughts. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do, yeah. Don't forget, give this video a big thumbs up. That will help YouTube to push out this video more, and that will be you supporting your girl. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Deuces.